You're listening to The Field Experience, a podcast by Frontiers Travel. I'm your host, Joe Koziara. This show digs into the stories, places, and people behind some of the best outdoor sporting destinations around the world. All right, today we're talking to intrepid angler and managing partner of Black Sands Lodge at Bahía Solano, Colombia, Felipe Morales. Felipe, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for the invitation, Joe.
So Felipe, obviously we're just chatting a little bit here, but for everyone else, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your time growing up in Argentina?
For sure. Yeah. So, grew up fishing, basically. I think I was born with a rod in my hand. I come from a family that owns one of the oldest fly shops in Argentina. And back in the day, I would say around the late 70s, early 80s, that was together with a bunch of our guides in Patagonia, was one of the pioneers of, bringing gringos to Argentina to fish Patagonia, to fish Fuego, and to hunt as well. They used to have a company, him and a partner called Fins and Feathers.
Mm-hmm.
So they started with that. Then slowly, when we were born, me and my brother, they to the fly shop industry, and I believe the first one they started was with Fisher family out of New York. So at a period there was an urban angler in New York and an urban angler in Buenos Aires. Then that didn't make much sense, so they decided to go each way separately, but they remain friends. So grew up, I probably spent my first 8 summers in Patagonia, in the San Martín de los Andes area. So what we will call Northern Patagonia. And then, school came, had to study, yada, yada, yada. And my last year of high school, I wasn't doing great. So, it's a funny story, but it kind of changed my life or it guided me through where I am today. So, failed a bunch of my subjects, didn't say anything at home, went on holidays to Patagonia with friends. And on December 31st, that shows up at the cabin we're renting. And he's like, "We're going fishing tomorrow." And I'm like, "Okay, why?" And he's like, "I booked us on this lodge called," it was on the Lake Tromen lodge, that it doesn't exist anymore, near the Majeo River. So we went there, we fished for 4 days. He barely spoke to me. And on the way back home, we were riding from San Martin back to Buenos Aires. And he looks at me and he goes like, "We know what you did." And he goes like, "You have 2 options. Either you study or you work. I'm not raising a tank."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Fine, I'll start when I get home." And, it was like, by that time, it was like mid-January. It was like 100 degrees in the shade in Buenos Aires. Nobody was there. I was trying to read books. And I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
So he sends me back to Patagonia to San Huberto Lodge. And Ronnie also was kind of in charge of getting me straight. So he threw me with the maintenance guys of the ranch, and they put me to fix fences and shit like that. I'm like, "Oh, this really sucks." But I could go fishing in the afternoon, so that was kind of a good perk. And midway through that, Mom gets a call from Noel Pollack, who at the time was the manager at Pira Lodge. And Noel goes, "Laura, I need a shadow guide to give a break to my guides." And Mom goes like, eyes open, and says like, "I have the perfect person. I'll send you my son." So I landed in Pira when I was, I think, 17. And it was, that was the beginning of my career in the fishing industry somehow. So did that for like a bunch of years. In the middle of that, Noel found this amazing place in Bolivia. So did that the first 3 years until that didn't work out between him and his partner. And then, on a fishing trip in Venezuela, I was fishing with John Fisher and a bunch of friends. And one of them told me like, "Let's do something together." And we started looking, we looked at properties in Argentina. Then we spent a lot of time like trying to get these 2 beautiful projects in Bolivia. We couldn't bypass all the bureaucracy and the corruption, so we kind of ditched those ones. And and at the same time, I was getting tired, because I like to be in the water.
Hmm.
And at a point, we were like having a meeting in New York, and I'm like, guys, I'm done with this. And they were like, no, no, you're not done. What else is out there? And I'm like, "Ugh." Uh, and I started looking around, looking around. We want to do something in South America. We all got very passionate about jungle fishing. There's amazing destinations far, but they
Hmm.
are too far. You go to Africa, there's a bunch of cool spots. You go to, uh, there's other places, but it's a pain in the ass to get there.
Yeah.
And especially if you want to start something. So, Colombia, this was probably back in I would say 15, 16. Colombia was starting to pop up in the radar. Uh, they just signed a peace treaty with the guerrilla. So the country was kind of opening it up again.
Hmm.
And, there was some small operators starting to post pictures. And I had a few friends from Argentina that went on a couple trips, and they said like fishing was great, blah blah blah. So I decided to give it a shot, and we actually started looking for freshwater destinations, uh, and we found this amazing place. We ended up buying a property there, developed a lodge. We ran a few trips until the pandemic, and then the area got very easy. Uh, and 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 in the middle of that, a friend from here told me, why don't you go check Bahía Solano? And I'm like, what's Bahía Solano? And he's like, it's amazing place. You fly from Medellin. It's a really short fly, and you land there, and it's like going back in time. It's this fisherman's town, and the fishing it's crazy. I'm like, fishing for what? And he's like, tuna, sailfish, mahi mahi. And I'm like, I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah.
But we came probably 3 exploratories before we decided to put the trigger. Uh,
Hmm.
the last one was funny because I with my partner, and he's really, really into the offshore scene. So he brought all the gear, and we saw a bunch of sailfish free jumping. We couldn't get one. And then I was like, I think I should stay for another week. So I stayed an extra week. That week with him fishing, we saw a lot. We didn't catch much. The next week, I stayed with a friend from England, and we stayed in this little town up north from Bahía Solano. And we went out, and we had an epic fishing week. And that was kind of the trigger moment where we decided, "Okay, let's do it."
Yeah.
Uh, and we were trying to do it the right way, so we decided to bring like this amazing boat with all the tackle, with all the toys, and we've been growing steadily and slowly and doing upgrades. We started on a smaller place that we used to rent. Then after COVID, we decided to purchase a very large property. Uh, we renovated a little bit at the beginning, so we ran a couple seasons out of there. And last, we decided to pull the trigger on a much bigger project. So we knocked down the old cabins, and we rebuilt them, and it's still a growing monster, I will call it. So in the plans, it's to keep expanding, always maintaining that kind of fit at home high end standards. So we don't want to go like uh, crazy in terms of rooms or amount of people we want to have. We want to keep it intimate. So and this year, as I told you before, we're moving away a little bit from just being a fishing lodge to make it a
Hmm.
bit more family friendly, because Bahia has this amazing thing, which you have a really solid fishing season, and during the off season you have an amazing whale migration. So you kind of play with both things, and you can also fish while there's whales in the area. Yeah, so it opens up a new world of eh, a mixed bag of like a family vacation with good fishing, with amazing whale sites. So we're happy. We're very happy with the place.
Yeah, that whale thing, you and I had talked about that a little bit before. And is it humpback whales, or is it a variety of whales that come through?
It, it's humpback. It's humpbacks. It's the Southern Pacific stock.
Hmm.
So I think. probably a friend of mine that is a biologist, which could not be after. But I think there's 4 stocks of whale worldwide, and there's 2 on the Pacific. Ours come from the Antarctic, and they
Hmm.
make it all the way to Costa Rica. And then there's another stock that comes from North Pole and make it all the way down to Costa Rica as well. But they don't mix together. It's like they share breeding grounds, but they don't
Hmm.
mix. And our age one of their breeding points. So it's cool. At this time we're entering the peak of the migration now. So you go and you see all these groups of males fighting for the females and the females with calves. And it's all like probably like 5 miles from the lodge. Many days you see them like
Yeah.
we're located in a small cove. So a lot of times a mom and a cub will come into a cove and you see them playing there all day. So it's a pretty interesting place.
Right. Yeah. So that's nice to have the appeal for non-anglers. And I think the last time you
Mhm.
and I were talking, you were engaged with a sloth or some other critter that happened
Yes,
in the
correct. We were rescuing a sloth
yeah.
that was about to become sloth soup.
Oh,
Uh,
hopefully that's
so
not a
we
common
rescued.
occurrence.
Now we history
Yeah.
and unharmed.
Yeah.
He climbed a tree very slowly, fall a few times, which was funny.
What about Colombia makes it such a prolific fishery? In your mind, I know you know you're relatively close. And actually, if we can back up, maybe a little
Yeah,
geography lesson, because I don't know. I mean, I know from talking to you where you're located, but for folks that are listening, can you give kind of a 1,000 mile view of where you are compared to some of the fisheries that might be better known, like Costa Rica or Panama?
yeah. So if you look at probably the closest we have that it's super famous and it's a legacy lodge, it's Tropic Star Lodge.
Hmm.
Uh, so we're on the same coast as Tropic Star Lodge. We're on the Pacific side of Colombia. Colombia for it's one of those countries that have both Caribbean and Pacific.
Hmm.
We're on the Pacific side. So Colombia is famous for Cartagena, for example. That's on the Atlantic side. That's on the Caribbean. Uh, we're 70 miles south from Tropic Star. So we're,
Okay.
we're very close to a border with Panama. It's to the eyes, it's a super remote area, but it's actually super easy to get there. So that's one of the appeals of the place, that the logistics are actually very, very simple.
Hmm.
Uh, and there's daily flights. So if you're coming from the States, you should be looking at flying through Medellin or through Bogotá and then connect. And there's daily flights and there's always the option of doing a private charter. So it's super convenient. Uh, there's Colombia, it's growing a lot and it's opening up a lot. I'll say that they went from no tourism to an average of like 5-6 million people coming to the country every year. So all these small areas that were like out of the radar are starting to pick up. Uh, and back to your question of what makes Colombia a good fixture or interesting for fishing, I will say topography. Uh, has this particular thing where the Andes split in three branches of the Andes. So you have 3 ranges, and that makes the topography super complicated for logistics
Hmm.
or to move around. Uh, so a lot of the areas of the country are super isolated, which we know it's good for fisheries. The less human interaction, the better it is. Uh, and then you have this this thing that it's amazing that you have an entire side of the country it's bordered by the Pacific, another side it's bordered by Atlantic, and then there's a very interesting side which is bordered by the Orinoco River, uh, which is a super rich and big system. Uh, so you see that a bit, you have all species in a very compact space, because I'll say like every flight around the country is no longer than and the Pacific is very rich in species. You can target tuna, tuna, mahi, sailfish, marlin. And you have all these inshore species which are like boosterfish, snapper, cuera, tarpon. We have like gigantic tarpon, not easy to catch, but are there.
Yeah.
Smokes, uh, pompanos. Uh, yeah, you can probably land, I don't know, 20 species in a week or something like that. So it's a fun fishery. We call it ATV Central because, every morning you said like, okay, today we should go look for sailfish. And halfway through a sailfish spot, you see like millions of tuna busting and you like stop there and back fishing for them all day long. Or you see a trevally blitz and you start fishing for jacks. Or you're fishing for sailfish and then the tunas won't let you feed. It's a fun thing.
You're just rolling around with a quiver of rods at the ready?
Basically.
Yeah.
That's kind of the plan. Like you look at the boats and like loaded with 40 rods for like 3 guys.
Yeah. Hey, talk a little bit about the tarpon thing because that's something that'll catch people's ear. And I think a lot of people don't realize that they're over there on your side of the land.
So tarpons on the Pacific came way back to Panama Canal. And maybe I'd say completely different to tarpons on the Atlantic side. These tarpons, you rarely see a daisy chaining or rarely see big schools. You'll see groups of 2 or 3, and they'll be like stuck against the shore in a small cove, like very tricky to position the boat so they're in reach. To us, are seasonal, so we believe they move up and down the shoreline. Where we are, there's not that much mangrove area.
Mm-hmm.
The south of the Colombian Pacific, it's lower, so there's all these river outlets and kind of marsh systems. So we believe they breed there, and then they move, up and down the shoreline with the food migrations. So for us, we start seeing them in late April, and they stay until August. They're random. They're very, very random. It's not something that you should plan a trip around, like, I want to catch a turtle. Yeah.
Right.
They are, say, on the fly, there are situations where these are tarpons, so they eat because they never seen a fly.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can put cast in one of those holes where they have or the type and the swell, it's good that we can push the boat super close in. The chances are great. It's not we get a batch of bites on speaking, like throwing like skipping ears or little poppers or stuff like that. We crush those or live bait. And they're big. I would say like there's a lot in the 60 to 80 pounds, and we've seen a lot of monsters. I wouldn't dare putting a weight on them, but I'd say like well over 150. So big old tarpons are. Yeah.
Right.
Thing it's, it's a new fishery with a lot of things to do. So we haven't really put a lot of time into targeting them.
Yeah.
Because, when somebody goes on a trip, they want to go to the guarantee fishing. It's rare to have a guest that says like, I want to catch a tarpon and it's willing to expend the days targeting tarpon. This would be like let's go permit fishing. You're gonna look at the sky for like 8 hours a day and maybe cast twice.
Right.
It's
cool to know that they're sneaking through the canal though.
Yeah. There's a lot. I think up in Panama it's more of a thing, and they're kind of cracking the code on how to catch them. And I think we're going that way as well. This year we saw a bunch, we hooked a bunch, only our unicorn, because we keep hooking, fighting them for like an hour, and when we're gonna like land, something goes down. Either we snap the leaders or we pull off the hooks. But it's always very exciting to know they're there.
Yeah, I think that scenario is familiar.
We came back from fishing with the Hodgners, with your guys. And we had a few extra live baits, and we're like in the boat, and my captain throws like a bait out and jump on your boat because there was something not working on the sounder, so I want to check it out. And the captain on the second boat hooks an earth shark and starts screaming, it's a tarpon, it's a tarpon. And then I look back and I see like the other captain saying, this is a tarpon. And I see like this monster like reaching off the water behind the water. I'm like, what the fuck? And he fought it. He almost did it like on the last wave before we landed it. But it was for like 100-pounder. So it's
Oh,
always
that's
cool to see that in front of the coach.
right.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, and it's funny because
So
all of
yeah,
those scenarios that you described, of things going wrong and shit coming undone, I think are
yeah,
familiar to anybody that's fished for tarpon.
yeah, exactly.
Are you seeing
You
any?
know,
Are you seeing juveniles? You mentioned that there's some breeding stuff, and I don't want to spend too much time on them because I know they're kind of an anomaly. But are you seeing
ne-
juveniles up in the mangroves?
never seen babies. No, always like 15-pounders and up. Like,
Yeah,
and it's hard to tell because under the water they might look smaller or bigger. So the ones who jump are always like over 30 pounds.
yeah.
I never seen like a tiny, you know, mangrove
Oh, five later.
tarp. Yeah, exactly. I love
Oh,
it. Those are fun.
yeah. That's awesome. So, I mean, in addition to the tarpon, you listed off kind of a full menu of species there.
Yeah,
If you can you give us an idea? I know it's kind of divided into some offshore and some inshore with a little bit of crossover happening throughout the season, but
yeah.
um,
Sometimes they mix up. I'd say like, I'm probably we're speaking to fly fishermen here. So I'll say the best time it's late March to late June.
Mhm.
And inside that window of time, there's every year there's this insane sardine migration. Uh, so what that does, it's that it brings both the offshore fishes to shore and the inshore fishes get pushed out of the shoreline. And they're all like focusing on finding and feeding on these bait balls. These bait balls usually arrive at night and they start moving during the night. They hang down in a cove or by the beach or they're almost in the dry. And you see them in the afternoons, they start moving. Sorry, the other way around. They move during the night, they hang down during the day. So what it does is it creates like these gigantic blitzes where you'll see like sailfish, tuna, uh, 3 or 4 different types of snapper, jacks, roosters, all like going hard on them. So that kind of makes the place super attractive for fly fishing because the rest of the season we have the same species, but it's much harder to target on the fly because you know tunas you want them to stay on the surface. And for that, you need a lot of bait to keep on the surface. Either a natural bait ball or what we do a lot of times, it's we picked up a lot of that bait, put it on the live wells, and then we chum through the end. So
Mhm.
you find the tuna as you start chumming, that keeps them up, and cast, and you are game on. Sailfish, we do both things, which is really cool. We will target free swimmers feeding on the bait balls, uh, or we go the traditional way, which is bait and switch. So we'll put teasers out, and when they start coming hot on the teasers, you pull the teasers out really fast, and you put a cast, you stop the boat, and hopefully everything goes right.
Right.
It's like an hour tarpon on the fly because fly line flies everywhere. People it's like freaked out, like you see a thing like that.
Yeah.
So it's funny. And then inshore on the fly, it's a bit trickier, but it's fun because you are moving along this beautiful shoreline. It's super dramatic. There's waterfalls. There's like rocks everywhere. Like there's these amazing cliffs covering like prehistoric plants. So the landscape it's amazing. Uh, the fishing can get a bit technical, not in terms of like wooing the fly, but in terms of putting the cast. Because a lot of times it's a long cast to get where it needs to go.
Mhm.
Uh, but we always catch stuff. That's the beauty of the place. It's rare to have a skunk day, and it's a nice dynamic because you can start morning, going out looking for like dolphin pods that we normally hold the tunas or mahi, and then you can say like I had enough of this, and then you kick back inshore, and then you work your way back through inshore. So it's I'd say a very dynamic fishery. It's not that you're stuck doing the same thing over and over and over, and you can mix it up a lot, which to many of our guests, it's the beauty. You know, if you're there for 5 days, you have plenty of time to like venture like 40 miles out looking for the current lines, which will normally hold blue marlin, giant mahi mahi, bunch of like small stuff hiding under the debris that you can cast now. I like the rod. Uh, there are sailfish there as well. And then many times on those current lines, or near those current lines, we found the craziest tuna blitz ever. Because those current lines, imagine, are like a floating house for bait.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect hideaway, and they are normally loaded. Right? So all the predators are around. And when, that bait gets pushed and pushed out of it, and sometimes they get pushed into like a tiny log, 2 by 4, 3 feet piece of wood. And you can see sharks and tuna and mahi and everything like busting them. And that's super, super cool to see and to fish.
Yeah, I picture kind of, in our river systems and here in the States, the saying is foam is home, which you probably have heard along your ways. And I kind of picture like a big ocean river.
Exactly. It works like a current line means there's, it's either a temperature break or it's like fresh water on the surface.
Yeah.
It's, green and blue. It's like, what will be a comparison? Like imagine when a branch of a river it's coming with a little bit murky and it's clear or the other way around. And predators are going to be hiding on the murky side and they're going to be crushing bait on the clear side. Same.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know it in the States, but in the Koziara River in Patagonia, there was a minnow migration that was insane. And we used to fish that with streamers and it was very similar. You see like these minnows balls like going up and rounds coming like from everywhere, like and rainbows. Very, very cool place.
Yeah, I was actually we're talking right now with some folks in Finland and they have something similar over there. They're throwing these, these topwater minnow gurgler type flies. I think they call them surfboards, right? But that's what it is. It's big browns just moving behind that migration of minnows.
Yeah. It's got Dorado, Payar. I would say any predator behaves kind of the same. If there's a bait migration, something it's gonna be eating.
Sure, they can advantage.
There's a lot of fisheries where you can witness that. And I think that's one of the coolest situations to fish for, because you can see an entire system going like crazy. Like the entire place, it's on fire. So that's cool. It happens on the Paraná, it happens on the Ibra Marsh, it happens on the Bolivian rivers, it happens in the ocean, the tarpon migration. Well, those are probably spawning, but I think there's a mallet migration somewhere in the States where the tarpons come close to shore and they're crushing mallets all day long.
Oh, yeah. So I think it's a lot of the Space Coast stuff off of Florida. There's some really cool aerial footage that you can pull up of them cutting through. But yeah, it's probably similar to the worms coming out at Bahía Honda Bridge, and anything where a lot of biomass is introduced into the system.
Exactly.
Things are going to find a way to eat. Is that predominantly, is that the best way to tackle your fish with a fly rod? Because I know you're a fly angler and obviously we, kind of have a fly focused group here, but it's not always the best tool.
I'll say, no, if you want real numbers, a lure, a spinning rod, it's always going to be like 10-1 because the distance you get, the speed you get, like you're fishing a lot more than with a fly rod. I would say like for each cast, a really good fly angler can do, like a crappy conventional angler can put 10 out there and much farther. So, and then, fly fishing for these routes, sometimes it's painful. Like I don't want to catch a 120-pounder on a fly rod tuna.
Yeah.
It's just plain torture. Like it's fun first time. Then I'll say there's like a sweet spot for the fly, and then there's a sweet spot for all the others. Like if you are talking like enjoying the fishing, I'll say our tunas in the 15 to 50 pounds are what you want to target. This year, for example, it was nuts because it's the first year we have such a steady run of big tuna. Like there wasn't 20 pounders around. Everything was like 40 pounds and up. Uh, and we broke a few of our records. We got a couple 100-pounders on the fly, which were like torture
Yeah.
because, you're fighting a fish for like 2.5 hours on a center console, which is, you can sit down, you can pass a run around. But the difference on these boats, like I always say, when you're fishing on flats, your rod is always angled at 45 degrees, or it's straight down, or it's pointing at the fish. On shallow water, you're on mostly tuna, they go straight down and they start circling the boat. So fly rods don't have enough backbone to lift them. So it's a very slow fight. And you feel like half of the time the fish is not even feeling what you're trying to do. And you're like,
Yeah.
suffering. Your back is hurting, your arm is hurting, your hand is hurting. Yeah. So, fish tool, I'll say spinning rods, fly rods, you can have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd say the mindset of a fly fisherman is different from a conventional. Like, conventional guys love numbers. Like you're fishing for fish, and if they can catch 100, they want 100. They don't want a picture, they don't want to touch it, they don't want to see it. They just want to hook it, bring it boat, snap the leader, put another bait out there. A fly angler enjoys the rise, the take, fight, the jabs, grabbing it by the bill, getting the hero shot, and they're happy with one or two fish. They're happy to have, I'd say most of us have constant action there throughout the day, but I wouldn't necessarily say we need to catch 100. I'm happy with a fish every once in a while during the day. Like, it's like any fishery, it gets tough when there's like it's hours of nothing. But, we try to do our best to keep everybody entertained throughout the day. So there's always things you can do. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're ready for fly guys when they come.
Yeah.
But what do you do to kind of temper that or set expectations correctly when you are talking to someone that's coming down? Do you have guys that are just not picking up a spinning rod and will stay on the fly the whole time?
We do. We have a couple which are like, well tried anglers. It's people that probably puts like 7-8 trips a year.
Yeah.
So and they're purists and they wanna catch it their way. I grew up with that, so I'm used to eating with that, and they'll stay strong and said like I'm gonna catch it on the fly, and they're good, and if they're on a sailfish mission, they wouldn't even look at like a million tuna busting around.
Yeah.
They're on looking for their sailfish.
Yeah.
They want to catch it on that fly, on that tippet class, and so we have a lot of that, and then we have people that it's more like flexible, like I would be. This is not working. What works? Let's catch fish.
Yeah.
So and we have a crew that is super good at reading those moods. Because I'm grateful I found a crew that are like as fishy as it gets. They want to catch fish more than you and me. They're like they'll go the extra hours, they go the extra mile. You can see me hook a fish and their smile is bigger than yours. It's really cool to see. They're like kids. It's like what I would say, like guides, fishing guides, or fly fishing guides have the first 3 years, then that smile disappears. But it's a real passion for fishing, and I'm happy we had that that gets that and transmits that to clients, and our clients love that. They're so even on tough days and even when things are, because it's something we cannot control, like fishing or the fish mood or like bad water. Yeah. But everybody usually lives very happy.
Yeah,
And I'll say a minority would stay like okay, and like I don't want to touch a spinning rod. Most will switch back and forth, you know. Uh, oh, Also related to like the size. Like this year particularly, not many people wanted to cast a fly rod to those tunas because they
right.
knew.
Yeah,
Uh,
just welcoming
so they were
trouble.
like, man, yeah, give me a big spinning rod.
What? So your captains and crew, though, they're going to be well versed in whatever techniques that
Yeah,
that are going to be best. So are they moving pretty deftly from from the fly rod anglers to a live bait situation to a lure
they
situation?
they can switch like in a split of a second. It's
Yeah,
like they look at you and said like, what do you want to do? And whatever you want to do, they're going to look at the rod holders, pick the rod you want, and said like, go.
yeah,
Uh, so- and just those boats can carry a lot of crap on them. So it's normal to see on a boat that there's like 6 fly rods rigged. There's like 12 light spinning or light and medium spinning, like 4 like trolling rods. Everything is rigged and ready. Jigging rods. We have like these electric rods that we used to catch like food. Basically,
oh yeah,
we go to like the super deep places to get grouper. When the ship goes, I need grouper. It's like, guys, we need to do a stop on the supermarket. And we have these rods that are like run 800, 900 feet down, drop a few baits, click a button, and dinner is ready. Yeah, it's good.
just
We can, and some of our guests actually enjoy that. They love it.
hmm
We have season, we had a tournament of bottom fishing on electric boats. Nobody was even trying to like drop out. It was straight Game Boy.
button present. Yeah,
Yeah.
that talk about
Yeah.
the
So it's a cool fishery. It's a very, very uh, different fishery. And,
yeah.
and, sorry that I interrupted. I will say one of the highlights that myself and everybody that comes notice, it's you and the ocean. It's not like, it's typical from the offshore scene to see a gigantic fleet. Every time there's infrastructure, there will be a million boats fishing the same areas. They're not
hmm
fishing over our people. Here, it's a tiny fleet. I'll say like maybe there's 12 boats fishing the area, and they're not there 80% of the time. Most of the boats will show up, which are local boats, will be on the water for 2 months of the year, and we're there year round. So your 80% of the time we're like just us fishing, which
Yeah.
is amazing. Uh, like that you don't get to see in many places when it comes to the offshore scene.
Yeah, and I would imagine, talking about the boats, you guys are running contenders down there. So I'm guessing
Yes.
you have access to some places that some of the other locals aren't accessing. Are they getting you there quicker, a little bit further?
Uh, there's a couple of things why these boats sense.
hmm
They're safer to start with. They're built in a way that nothing is going to happen. They cut through weather much better than local boats that are designed for rough weather, basically. And they're faster, even in harsh conditions. The average local center console will do like without weather 20 knots. We do 20, 25 knots with weather. So when there's no weather, we're running 40 knots, which gives you extra hours of fishing. Because
hmm
let's say we've been chasing dolphins all day long, and suddenly it's 4 o'clock and 6 miles south, and push it another hour. We can fish until 5 and be back by 6 at the touch because these boats, uh, yeah, only fuel. but you're fishing an extra hour, and many times happens that when it's one of those sunny bright days, the fish will start feeding hard again late in the afternoon. So you wanna maximize your time in the water. Many times we see your operations even at the PM, like on the outdoor, like at the event. I'd say the longest non-stop we ride it's an hour, heading out or heading back, and that's when we're going far or we're going north.
Yeah.
Because the area we probably cover like from, I will say like 120 miles in a line. We can go 60 miles south or 60 miles north, and then wherever we're going out. So, sometimes fishing, especially in April and May, the fishing it's really close to the lodge. We're running for like 5 to 10 miles. But earlier in the season, we're exploring a bit more. We're looking for fish that are not as concentrated. So those days we keep running like, 80 miles around, 20 miles this way, 20 miles up, and then come back and are 40 miles. So that's pretty common. And boats, are so they're comfortable, they're fast, they're dry, they're safe.
Yeah.
Which to us it's key. But to have safe equipment, it's I done it. We all done it. You jump on the boat that it's a piece of crap, and you're like worrying it's gonna sink. It's not working. That's not working. That engine is failing, and it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You're around the world for a fishing weekend. You don't want to be dealing with a broken engine or like a leaking boat. So we're picky with that, and I think that's one of the big differentiators for us. We are not shy about investing in the best equipment out there. When it comes to tackle, it's the same. We try to have the latest and the best of everything. Fly rods, fly lines, fly reels, spinning rods, reels, lures. We have like a parallel tackle shop.
Yeah. Well, you were raised in the tackle industry, so when folks arrive,
exactly.
they can count on you that they're not getting some taped together locals.
And it's not just me, my business partner. It's also obsessed with tackle. He loves gadgets.
Yeah.
Like here, he came for a week and he shows up with these two giant, they're called LPs, which are like this thing like industrial reels made for like dredges. And when she goes for deep cropping, which is great. But yeah, we have things that make no sense. So easy. But it's part of fun.
Yeah. But people can show up really without any, all the tackle that someone would need.
Yeah, you can show up in shorts and flip-flops.
Yeah.
2 pairs of shirts, one for fishing, one for dinner. And we'll make sure it's clean by the next day.
Well, since you mentioned dinner and shorts, talk a little bit about the lodge environment, if you would, because I know, in talking to some of the recent guests, they were just blown away by the level of attention and detail and the dining program. So yeah, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about the renovations that you've done and the culinary program.
So now since we kind of we built our place with this beautiful cabins with pretty big rooms. I think we exaggerated a bit on the size. Super comfortable. So there's 12 rooms. We have 10 of them are equipped with twin beds. So if you want to share, you can share. If you want to be alone, you can be alone. And then we have 2 that we set up as king rooms for couples. And we might play around with that in the future. But for now, that's what we have. They're pretty big. They all have AC, enormous bathrooms with hot water. So all the creature comforts you can expect on any fancy hotel or lodge around the globe, you'll find. And then, and I think that this came from my years in Narrows Waters. I'll say Narrows Waters is probably one of the top companies when it comes to like lodging part of the operation. And so I learned from random from that company that, everything you can control, you should have best. And that's, food, the whites, the rooms, the linen, the decoration, the service. That should, to us, that's non-negotiable. So we try to do the best possible where we are to supply that experience to our guests. And then the food, it's an amazing place because you have all these fresh products that it's rare to find anywhere else. So, you have fresh tuna, fresh grouper, fresh snapper, you have great vegetables. Colombia have like, coming from Argentina, where vegetables are like lettuce, tomatoes, and onions and potatoes. Here, there's like 50 different types of fruit, like 100 different types of like stuff. And we had a chef that she's great. And we are like fine tuning and adjusting the menu all the time to suit our guests' preferences. You know, fishing for us, it's super tailored, the fishing program. So as a guest, you'll get a questionnaire that it's the same you guys and probably saying what's your preference or allergies. So she tries to tailor that menu to every group, which is great because she's flexible. That way, some chefs are just knuckleheads and working their thing their way. So I think that's one of the things we put a lot of effort into. Like try to provide a great experience besides the fishing. So I've said to many of my friends, and yes, fishing, I can give you the best boat, the best guy, the best boat. But it's everything, but I can control what the fish are gonna do or how the weather is gonna look tomorrow. So, but I can control, what I'm gonna give you to eat, what I'm gonna give you to drink, and where you're gonna sleep.
Yeah.
And that we put a lot of effort into making it spotless.
Well,
And
it
it's
seems to be
back
working
to
based
Sarah,
on
sorry.
the
Yeah,
based on the feedback we've been getting. So, um, on another note, can you talk a little bit about for U.S. travelers in particular?
yeah.
What's the routing like if someone wants to book one of these trips? I know, real quick, you don't have set arrival or departure dates. So
No.
it's based on, kind of the availability, but we find an opening. Is there a certain length of time that seems to be, the
We,
best
we,
case?
I'll say like not really. We do like so we swap. You and I have been talking a little bit about this. So we're swapping a little bit the business model. We used to run like straight fishing, and it was like uh, which will be organized from Saturday to Saturday, but there was a menu depending on the amount of days you wanted to fish or the amount of anglers in your boat.
Hmm.
Uh, Change that a little bit, and now we're way more flexible. So let's say you want to come and fish for 2 days, you can do that. Because for 26 and moving forward, I get to be super flexible in terms of like when I want to arrive on a Wednesday, I want to fish, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I want to fly out on Sunday. Now you can do that. So you book your rooms, and you can choose if you want to share, if you want to be alone in your room, if you want to single, or if you want to mix it up with other things, because not necessarily you have to like 3 fishing days in a row. You can book a week long stay, and then you say, I want to fish 2 days and I want to go diving for 2 days. So I want to do snorkeling or I want to stay at the beach reading a book.
Yeah.
So now we have that. I think it's cool and it's going to be attractive to a lot of people looking for more like a family or couples oriented trip. Because there's also a thing with offshore fishing, especially for the age. Most of the anglers running around the world, you get tired. If you put 5 days of that, you're like, Jesus, do I need to go out again
Yeah.
today? So it gives that flexibility of saying like, okay, I want to fish today, I want to rest tomorrow, I want to fish again the day after. So you can put 3 or 4 fishing days in a week and take it easy, or you want to go in the afternoon. So it opens that flexibility, which we think it's great.
Yeah. And
Even I don't want to go like fishing 5 days in a row anymore. Like I
right.
enjoy like 4 days, 3 days, of you know, unless it's to me, I'm in Lax and I fish a lot around, and unless it's something really, really, really new to me, I'm happy with 2 or 3 days. And I like to do other things, I like to go explore a little bit what else it's out there.
The accessibility part of it too kind of lends itself to the long weekend, the 3 or 4 day trip. I
Yeah.
know there's more and more flights from the US coming in, but how are most of the folks from the US getting to your lodge? Because is it most
I
people are
I would
staying in
say
Medellin?
no, a vast majority, like unless they're doing an extended trip, and
Hmm.
they're staying after, they're coming ahead and doing a coffee region or Cartagena. A lot will decide to privately charter, so it's a seamless connection. We can arrange a charter to pick you up at either the international airport if the connection works, or to me personally, it's better to transfer from one airport to the domestic airport, which is a 35-minute car ride, and the experience in the airport it's much simpler. Medellin Airport doesn't have a private charter terminal, so
Hmm.
you come into the main terminal, you have to go through like regular security, and the people don't understand why you're putting your giant bag through. So that's one option that makes trolling super, super seamless. It's from wherever you're flying in the States, you land in Medellin, and then you're in 1 hour, you're in the lodge. It's a 35-minute flight on a very nice plane. You land in Bahía Solano, it's a 5-minute car ride to the dock, and then either you're straight fishing because we love to do that. It gives time to the staff to do a proper turnover, and it gives people, a sense of the place, and it's kind of a warm up session where they
Hmm.
can kind of meet the crew, and the crew can see what they want to do and what are their skill levels, so they can kind of plan the week around that. And it happens in many places that you're right, and you have that wasted day that you're like
Yeah.
sitting at the lodge fishing either the home pool or scrolling through your iPad, saying like,
Yeah.
I want it to be tomorrow already. So I think it's kind of cool that you can be there in an hour. Uh,
Seamlessly. Yeah. That's
yeah,
um
yeah.
that's great, and I love that idea of
Option B,
the
it's,
sample day.
yeah, and option B, Joe, it's the was depending on most of the commercial flights from Medellin to Bahía Solano will depart around noon.
Hmm.
So it will depend a lot on what time you land in Medellin. But if you land, let's say at 10 a.m., you probably need to spend the day in Medellin and overnight there and catch a flight next day. That's why normally a charter makes sense. Unless you have a super early arrival or like say you're landing in Medellin at 6, 7 a.m., you can make it to the commercials.
The
Uh,
commercial.
the thing with commercials, it's as many of these places where the routes are not fixed, they change the hours of the flights regularly. So it's hard to nail it like six
And
months in ahead.
but for folks doing that charter, Felipe, what's the latest they can look to arrive? How late will that charter depart out of Medellin?
I think the charter can depart all the way down to like 4 p.m.
Okay.
They need to have to because our airport, the domestic airport in Medellin will close around 5 p.m.
Hmm.
So a charter needs to be able, they can always, a charter can stay an overnight on 5 o'clock. But usually they'll ask us if we can be leaving like 3:30, 4 p.m. tickets.
Get them back.
But if
Okay.
we have to push it, they'll push it. They'll
Yeah.
overnight in Bahía Solano.
And for folks that are gonna stay overnight in Medellin, again, for people that aren't familiar with Colombia and the changes that have been taking place there, I know you're sitting there with Medellin in the background.
Yeah.
But if someone comes in and they're gonna do an overnight or even a day or two, what do you recommend for that, and how's that look?
I think it's a beautiful small city. It's very, very vibrant and alive. Uh, it's a lot of young people in the city. So there's always things to do and see. It's not a capital city, so it has that kind of hill town vibe. The area will everybody stay, it's an area called El Poblado. And inside El Poblado, which is the main neighborhood of the city, there's 2 or 3 areas that are beautiful to walk around. It's a very green, clean city. It's super safe, especially this area. Uh, it's safe like any other city in the world. You don't want to uh, go to a wrong place. But if you stay like in the main streets and in the main restaurant areas and in the main tourist area, it's super convenient. Everything is close. It's a city. I would say it's new administration here is doing a great job to keeping the city in good shape. It's well illuminated. It's clean. There's like these amazing gardens. It's everywhere you see. There's like gigantic trees and beautiful plants and kind of junk.
Yeah.
Catching rows. The weather it's great. They call it the eternal spring city. It's always in there. What will be like 70 degrees for you, like 20 centigrades more or less. It's always in that range. So it's not hot. It's not cold. Great restaurants. There's more and more and more offer in the gastronomy side. So there's really good options. There's a couple really nice hotels, which, if you're right late, they have a rooftop where you can have a cocktail and grab a snack. They have like 3 or 4 restaurants in the bottom floor. Then around those hotels, there's a bunch of good restaurants. It's a modern city, surprisingly. And I think even Buenos Aires could be a lot of things for them. The line for the bikes, we took it from Colombia. There's this thing called like bus line, which is a line through the city that it's just for the buses. We took that from Colombia as well.
Yeah.
So surprisingly, it's a well-rated city in terms of modernity. You will expect. I wouldn't do like 5 days here because I wouldn't do 5 days on any city that it's not in Europe, probably, or in New York. But for a 1 night or 2 night stay, it's a great place. It's safe, it's comfortable. There's a lot of things to do. There's a couple like out of the city trips you can do for a day, like it was our work. There's a couple towns are colonial and beautiful, and you can have a good meal and kind of see. I see most of the cities, as when we started, we took out the topography of Colombia. All the cities are like surrounded mountains. So the view, it's mountains wherever you go. And when you start going through the mountains, it opens up all these little colonial towns, which is actually cool. So I'll say it's a very convenient trip for people coming from the US.
Yeah, and seems like it would work well for families.
Yeah, especially if you come during the fall, during your summer or late summer, during the fall, you can still whale migration, which I think it's great. If you're with kids fishing, you have the whales breaching there. You're casting to tuna here. We had a little bit of that with the Koziara family, and that was a very special trip for all of us because it was a trip of 3 generations, and it was focused on making the kids happy.
Yeah.
And all the stars were aligned, and they were like, "Oh, we want to catch a tuna now, and we'll turn around and cook tuna. Oh, we want sailfish now, and we'll turn it and we'll." So it was one of those very special trips for us. And it proved our theory that it's a great destination for families or fathers and sons, or and now that the lodge is on a much better level in terms of comfort, I think it will be a great place for the girlfriends or the wives that don't want to be like 10 hours on a boat and they just want to chill, and will have stuff they want to go in like a half day of bird watching or a hike through or see waterfalls. We have stuff that can take care of them and do that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So it opens up for the menu.
Right. So I guess, to summarize, if for a diehard, fly guys that mid-April through June is kind of your best bet at the migration, but really it sounds like it's going to fish year round and have something for everybody.
exactly. But if you're like fly fishing and you want to see some of the crazy tool action you'll find anywhere else,
Yeah.
uh, it's the time of the year. And you can throw in the sailfish, you can throw in the roosters, you can, uh, but I'd say like a staple of the place, it's those tunas going nuts. And they get kind of addictive. You want to catch the ball somehow, even if you're suffering while doing
Yeah.
it.
Well, it's got me hooked. I want to get down there and see the tuna. I know Hank
Yeah.
wants to come down and see your bike lanes.
Invitation, it's okay. Oh, Hank will love it. It's like biking. It's a big thing here. They have like I'll say it's like probably their biggest sport,
Yeah.
especially in Medellin area. Takes you to drop a few more pounds. It's a lot of uphill here.
Well, maybe that's the place to do it. Hey, completely
Yeah,
off the
yeah.
wall. Tell me about the hippos. Where are the hippos?
The hippos, I saw them the other day. We went with my girlfriend. We went to this place area called Doradal. It's here where Pablo Escobar, that famous narco from the 90s, had like a giant state. It was like a gigantic ranch. I mean, somehow he managed to import giraffes, hippos, lions. But he had a complete private zoo. So when they put him down, that place kind of went like, you know, wild until they recovered. But those hippos producing, and now there's like white hippos mooring around the area because of the topography, and they'll go into these tiny rivers and reach bigger rivers, and they start spraying. And I think they're like rabbits; they reproduce kind of fast.
Yeah.
So it's a big issue for some people. To me, it's amazing. There's like it's like largest population of hippo outside of Africa, and they're like
Sure.
4 hours from my house. And I think hippos are cool animals. They're pretty fast. I'm scared if I have to run.
Yeah. Seems like
loud. Yeah,
Have some
no,
interest.
they're cool. I don't wanna cross one while I'm fishing. You know, if I'm driving and there's a hippo crossing the road, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, from the safety of a vehicle.
Yeah, I'll send you a few pictures.
I'll look forward to it.
I fed carrots to one.
That's closer than I need to get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've taken up a lot of your time, and before we get too far into teasing the boss, yeah, I appreciate it, and I think this is super informative. I think it's going to be, be a great tool and help introduce Black Sands and the whole region down there to a lot of folks that might be listening.
It's I think for people that doesn't know much, and there's always like this safety concern. Colombia, for their stores, it's safe. Nobody, it's offering places are unsafe. There's areas of the country are like easy, but nobody goes to those areas. That's why they're easy. And as some development and some like tourism arrive to these areas, they become super safe. There's some sort of understanding between the authorities and bad guys, and nothing happens. And in general, it's a very healthy country. Banking, good restaurants, good hotels, good connections, good airlines. It's also like periods of news coming out.
Yeah.
But I think that's what sells newspapers. But it's not the reality. I moved from Buenos Aires, 4 years ago. I never had a moment of like feeling uncomfortable or feeling unsafe. Not that I have many of those in Buenos Aires either, but I probably felt more unsafe, to be honest, in San Francisco a few years ago.
Yeah.
Walking at night. So it's a very, very easygoing country, and people, it's super friendly, are welcoming. There's not that mentality of like taking advantage of the tourists yet, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's not something I hate on many places. That they're always trying to like threaten with you and try to screw you, or like a taxi
Hustle.
driver going like, yeah, exactly. That doesn't happen here. And then, for our guests, we try to make it super simple and we deal with everything. So we don't have to think with anything. So we can help with hotels, with transfers, with flights, we can make it a super easy travel experience. And I think now that we have this new infrastructure, it's a great add-on for somebody who wants to come to Colombia and see a country and go fishing for like 3
Yeah.
days. It's not that you need to come just to fish. You can put it as an add-on for a much larger, longer trip.
That's all for this episode of The Field Experience. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this show, give us a follow, and we'd love it if you shared it with a friend. Also, check out frontierstravel.com, where you can learn more about this episode. This is your host, Joe Koziara, signing off.